Welcome back to Base Sunday. Some believe we live in a post-racial society. Our next guest is the founder and creative director of World Trust Education Services. It's a nonprofit. It's based out of Oakland. She's also quite the filmmaker and is here to talk about her latest project, Cracking the Codes, the System of Racial Inequity. It's a powerful piece linking together by a number of moving personal accounts on racism in our society and the hope to find some racial equality. Please welcome Shakti Butler.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you so much.
So tell us, what was the process? We know why you made the film, obviously,
Right.
but what was the process like? Did you learn something yourself?
I always learn something.
Yeah.
You know, like my daddy used to say, it's a slow day when you don't learn something.
Absolutely.
It was amazing because I got to speak with people who spend their lives working on issues of equality, and they always have something powerful to say that takes the conversation deeper.
Yeah. How long? It took you 4 years.
4 years.
And filmed here in Oakland, right?
Yes, primarily.
And where did the people come from?
My friends.
Just friends? Yeah?
Friends and people who I know who are in the field. Yes.
Well, I watched some of it on your website. It's very powerful. And, you know, I'm a white kid that grew up in an East Bay suburb, and I'm not a racist, but there are stereotypes in our society that just keep getting reinforced. And I think we're all guilty of that. How do we change that?
Well, that is a good question. When we figure that one out, we'll probably be a very different society.
Well, I know, but isn't that the whole basis of your film?
It is the
because
basis.
there was one black gentleman that was being interviewed. I think we're going to hear from him in a moment. That just talked about, you know, people just don't realize. You don't realize that your thought process, what you're thinking, and why we are who we are. Do you know what I'm saying a little bit?
I do. You're actually talking about something we refer to as unconscious bias.
Right.
Because we are who we are and informed by all of the information that's constantly streaming our way and the messages that we get that we're not aware of. So for example, when you were in school and you took history, who was in charge in the history book?
Right.
It informs you about who should be in a leadership position in this country. It's not something that's spoken of directly, but indirectly you do get that message.
I remember I worked with an African-American gentleman. He was a reporter in Boston for 20 years. He works for the state now in Massachusetts. He had gone and done a story. He lived in Boston, and he went into a liquor store that had been robbed and was interviewing people, and it was close to where he lived, too. Suit and tie with a camera, respect it, whatnot. He went back a couple of days later to buy something and just got the evil eye all the way in.
Right.
And he told me that story, and I go, really? And he goes, Frank, you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's a German philosopher, his name still is, I guess, Hegel, who said that the servant has to know the world of the master in order to serve, but the master doesn't have to know the world of the servant. And so we do walk in very different worlds. And I think your original question of how do we deal with this is that we have to expand our capacity to hold paradox. We have to know that more than one thing is true at a time, that we have very different lived experiences of the world. And when we become interested in that, when I become interested in how you move through the world, and when you become interested in how I move in the world, then we can come together in ways that we haven't before. We make connection.
Let's take a quick look at a little bit of the film. Here it is, and then we'll talk about it right afterwards.
Okay.
I would argue that the greatest waste of time in my life was the 4 years I spent in high school. And this is coming from an educator. That there was, from the food we were fed to the only way we were really accepted in school, you know, the black boys are the mascots of any high school that they're in where I grew up. I don't know about other places. I've seen it in other places though. I see it now at universities. Well, like the black dudes are, like, you know, they're the provocative part of your experience in high school or college or in the workplace, you know. And for me, it didn't speak to me.
White boy who walks in the room and is animated and moving around and maybe even a little cheeky is smart. And isn't he smart? Isn't he cheeky? He's almost looked at as, well, boys will be boys. A boy of color, especially an African-American boy who walks in the room exhibiting the same behavior, walks in and it's, I might need to keep an eye on him. And that, I really believe, is our internalized racism. that we are afraid of.
And this is what we were talking about this earlier, weren't we?
Yes. Yes.
It's amazing because that was a little excerpt that I saw before I came out here.
Right.
It just makes you think a little bit, doesn't it?
Right. I love the fact that it makes you think, but I hope it also makes people feel.
Yeah.
That we want to be the best of who we are. We want to live in alignment with our own moral compass and our values. But we have to look at the ways where that doesn't happen, and that's challenging for everyone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this film will help
Yes,
a little.
yes.
It certainly has raised a lot of questions, and thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
in.
for inviting
And when's
me.
it open? It opens here pretty
November
quick.
8th at the Grand Lake Theater is our Oakland premiere. We've had a premiere in Boston and Chicago, attended by 500 and 600 people at a pop.
That's great news.
Yes.
Okay, thanks so much. If you'd
Thank
like
you.
more information about Cracking the Code, please log on to crackingthecodes.org, and we'll be back with more Bay Sunday right after the break. Stay right there.